Most tourists don't ruin their trip to Rome because they choose the wrong attractions. They ruin their trip because they treat Rome like every other city. Rome is beautiful, but can be chaotic, confusing, and definitely overwhelming. If you're new here, hi, I'm Angela, a travel planner and itinerary designer based in Rome. In this video, I will tell you which are the most common mistakes Rome travelers make, and I will also give you some tips on how not to make those mistakes so that you can plan a very smooth trip to Rome. Let's start. Mistake number one, they want to see everything in one day. This is not possible. Rome is a huge city, and even if in the map the attractions in the city center, they look all next to each other, they are not. It takes time to reach all of them, and you really need to consider distances. So what I suggest is to plan each macro area together. For example, you want to visit the Vatican, you need to consider that the Vatican includes St. Peter Basilica and the Vatican Museums. The Vatican Museums are huge, so it's not a matter of like a half an hour. So I would say half a day is for the Vatican. The same for the Colosseum, because the archaeological park of the Colosseum is not just the Colosseum, there is also Roman Forum, Palatine Hill. So you need to set half a day, let's say the morning or the afternoon for the Colosseum. The same is for the historic center. Keep in mind the time you need to visit a place and the distances. Mistake number two, not booking the right tickets in advance. Some landmarks required mandatory tickets booked online. Some landmarks have a long queue, so if you don't book the ticket, maybe you have the chance not to book the ticket, like the landmark allows it, but they have such a long queue that you're gonna waste hours in line. Some other landmarks, they have several options for ticket. For example, the Colosseum, you can book the ticket just for the Colosseum, like the general floor for the public, or you can book a separate ticket that includes also arena access, or you can book a ticket for the Colosseum and Roman Forum and Palatine Hill. So by booking in advance, you choose exactly what you want to see and you choose the time, so you can also avoid a long line. Mistake number three, planning both the Vatican and the Colosseum in one day. Now, granted, the Colosseum can be half a day, let's say in the morning, Colosseum and the archaeological park with the Roman Forum and Palatine Hill. Also, the Vatican can be half a day, the Vatican Museums a couple of hours, then the St. Peter Basilica. But if you plan them, both of them in one day, you are gonna be too tired, because the Colosseum is huge, lots of things to see and lots of walking. The same is for the Vatican. The Vatican Museums on their own, they take hours, and in these hours there are plenty of masterpieces and lots of walking. It's really not feasible if you do one thing in the morning and one thing in the afternoon. If you have only one day and you really want to see them both, then I suggest booking a private tour, because with a guide, they will take you exactly to the right spots. But if you travel independently and if you visit them on your own, I suggest a one day one, and the other thing that you do on the same day is something more relaxed, and the next day the other one. Mistake number four, treating the Roman Forum as a quick add-on. The Roman Forum is often less famous than the Colosseum, but it's actually very important to understand the local life, the daily life of ancient Rome. But the Roman Forum is also huge. It includes uneven paths, some staircase, archaeological routes and loads of places out of shade. So it's uncovered. So if it's hot, if you're hungry, if you're already tired, I suggest leaving the Roman Forum for the day after or for some other time, because the Roman Forum requires a few hours to fully understand what you're visiting. Also, if you don't really understand the archaeological ruins, I suggest either going with an audio guide or with a local guide. Either you join a small group tour or even your own private tour. Mistake number 5. They eat right next to the famous monument. So, of course, it's nice to eat, to have lunch or dinner with the Pantheon in front of you, or right next to Piazza Navona, or next to the Trevi Fountain. But these restaurants, I feel they rely more on their location rather than quality. And in fact, you can expect tourist quality. So I wouldn't suggest those if you really want to eat local and traditional. So for this, to avoid this mistake, I suggest doing your own research and seeing what are the restaurants that can be like, let's say, 200-300 meters from the famous monument, maybe like a back street, but better quality. And also the monuments are not too far away. Mistake number 6, expecting dinner too early. If a restaurant is open for dinner at 5 in the afternoon, that's a touristy restaurant. You cannot expect a local traditional Roman restaurant that caters for locals to be open for dinner at 5. That's impossible because locals don't have dinner so early in the afternoon. So what I suggest is you have a nice lunch. Halfway in the afternoon you have a snack, you enjoy a nice gelato, and then you have dinner from 7-7:30 in the afternoon together with the locals. Mistake number 7. Only visiting the most famous monuments. Of course, if it's your first time in Rome, you cannot skip the Trevi Fountain or St. Peter Basilica or the Pantheon. But if you want a Roman feeling, I suggest also visiting areas that are less packed with tourists. For example, the Ostiense neighborhood, Testaccio. It's a very Roman neighborhood and it's lovely. And there are also important landmarks to visit, like the pyramid or the Mercato Testaccio market or the non-Catholic cemetery. Another area that is lovely and not very touristy is the Aventine Hill, with plenty of very ancient landmarks, historic churches, and beautiful views on the rest of the city. Or another area that I like very much is along Via Nomentana. That's a very Roman area, but it's very elegant and a nice place to walk along Via Nomentana Road, because you can visit also very historical places like Sant'Agnese fuori le mura, where are also the catacombs, and Villa Torlonia, a gorgeous park in Rome, which is a smaller park but with plenty of landmarks and a fantastic walk that you can have. Mistake number 8, wearing the wrong shoes. So you're in Italy, you're in Rome, you want to be elegant, I get it, but if you're a tourist, you are going to walk a lot. So first of all, think about comfort. Wear comfortable sandals or walking shoes that possibly it's not the first time you wear them, because you want to avoid surprises. Otherwise, painful feet, they can really ruin your trip. So wear comfortable shoes that you are already confident with. Mistake number 9, handling taxis and the public transport the wrong way. Taxis in Rome, obviously, they can be very handy, but not always. If you are in the strict city center, historic center, with the small alleys, or in an area with high traffic, in the end, taxis can be slow. So what I suggest is, if you are in the city center or you need to reach landmarks that are well connected with public transport, prefer the public transport like the bus, the tram, the metro, and also the local trains. For example, St. Peter, to reach the Vatican, you can use the local train and get off in the San Pietro train station. And then with a very short walk, you reach St. Peter Basilica. So, when do I suggest a taxi? For sure, if you go out at night, to go back to your hotel, definitely take a taxi for longer distances, and also when you have several luggage. So either you are going from or to the airport or the train station, and you have luggage. Mistake number 10, staying too far out of the city center. Even if you are in a place where there are buses and the metro, sometimes staying too far from the city center will take you a long time to reach the city center, the points of interest, and the most famous landmarks that are probably in your itinerary. I get it. If you're from the city center, you will save money, definitely, but you can also stay not right in the city center, so a little bit far away, but not too far, so that you can reach the landmarks relatively in a short time and still save some money for your hotel, and also with some local restaurants that are not exactly in the city center. Mistake number 11, ignoring the dress code for churches. This is a very common mistake that travelers make, and I confess, sometimes I made it too, because sometimes I went out from my house that it's not in the city center, I went out to the city center to do some other stuff that didn't include any church, but then I discovered a new church and I wanted to visit and I wasn't wearing the right outfit. So since you are traveling, exploring Rome, let me assure you that you will never be too far from a beautiful church. So if you don't want to miss and to be forced not to enter a church, then wear something that it can fit a dress code for worship places, like cover your shoulders and cover your knees. This applies for churches, but also for places within the Vatican there are no churches. For example, the Vatican museums and the Vatican gardens. Mistake number 12, visiting Rome without a proper heat plan. Keep in mind that July and August in Rome can be extremely hot. Sometimes also end of June can be very hot. So if you're planning to have a walk around the historic center or to visit the Colosseum Archaeological Park with the Roman Forum, Palatine Hill, make sure you don't plan these attractions and these walks in the hottest time of the day, like the early afternoon, for example, or even the late morning. When it's hot, very hot, I would plan a museum because they have air conditioning. Referring to this, to the best time to plan your trip to Rome and your itinerary in Rome, so to visit what and when, we have made a full video all about this that you can check in the link below or here. Mistake number 13, assuming that everything is open all the time. For example, some museums close on Monday. The Vatican Museum have their own schedules. Some restaurants, they have a closing day. Some restaurants are open only for dinner. Some churches, they are not open all the way from morning to evening, and they close around lunchtime for a couple of hours. So controlling, checking the schedules of all the monuments that you want to visit during the day, it's the best way to avoid surprises and to also avoid wasting time because you have to skip a monument because you didn't check the opening hours. Mistake number 14, considering the Vatican Museums and St. Peter Basilica like one landmark. They are both within the Vatican City, but they have a different entrance. The Vatican Museums, they are a museum. They have an entrance in Viale Vaticano and they require a ticket. There is a line for the ticket and then a line for the security control. The St. Peter Basilica, they don't have a ticket, but they obviously have a security check, so sometimes the line for the metal detector can be very, very long. You need to plan them in a different time because first you visit, let's say first you visit the Vatican Museums because you have a timed entrance there, and then you go out and you need to start standing in line for St. Peter Basilica, which requires another hour to visit. There is one way to make it as like a one, not one landmark, but one tour, and have only one entrance. By booking a private tour that includes both the Vatican Museums and St. Peter Basilica, because you will start with the Vatican Museums, so you will enter there, you will go through the security control, and then with your guide from the Vatican Museums, you will enter St. Peter Basilica from inside, so you won't have to go out and queue again. This is one way, but otherwise they are two different landmarks with two separate entrances. Mistake number 15, ignoring monument rules. Sometimes travelers find this rule surprising, because they don't expect a monument to have rules. But for example, the Spanish Steps, you can climb the Spanish Steps, so the monumental staircase, but you cannot sit there, and definitely you cannot eat on the steps. You cannot have a picnic in there. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up so we know what topics to cover next, and subscribe to our channel for more Rome tips. If you're planning a trip to Rome or Italy and you need help, you can find my customized travel services in angelacorrias.com or romeactually.com. Now, Rome Actually signing off. See you in the next video. Ciao for now.